"I don't belong here," Black Waitress whispered, but her blind date is the Penthouse millionaire CEO. The elevator doors open to the top floor of the Meridian Tower. Evelina Brooks, 29, steps out slowly, clutching her small purse. Her dark skin glows under the golden light, and her second-hand black dress fits neatly but. Around her, people laugh softly over wine glasses and polished tables. She feels every stare. The maitre d' hesitates when she says her name, scanning the guest list twice. Her heart beats fast. Maybe this was a mistake. She starts to turn back, until a tall man at the far corner stands. Quentin Hale. His suit is sharp, his eyes calm. "Evelina," he says, smiling. She nods, unsure if she should sit or run. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic and emotional stories. What happens when a woman who's spent her life serving tables suddenly finds herself sitting across from the man who owns the skyline? Evelina sits across from Quentin, still unsure if she's made a mistake by coming. The restaurant glows with quiet music and soft laughter. She studies the long list of dishes she's never heard of, her hands shaking slightly as she flips the pages. Quentin notices. Without hesitation, he smiles and tells the waiter, "2 coffees and a slice of cheesecake for us." Evelina looks up, confused. He adds softly, "Simple tastes are honest." Her nerves ease. They start talking, slowly at first. She tells him about the small diner she works at, about double shifts and saving every dollar for her mother's medical bills. Quentin listens, leaning slightly forward, not interrupting once. He asks about her favorite part of her job, and she says, "When someone leaves smiling." He nods like that's the best answer he's ever heard. The conversation flows naturally. She finds herself laughing, forgetting where she is. She admits she walks home most nights because she can't afford a car. He doesn't pity her, he just listens. When she jokes about her worn sneakers, he says, "They've carried you far. That's something to be proud of." A waiter arrives to refill her water, and Evelina's elbow accidentally tips the glass. Water spills across the table, dripping toward Quentin's sleeve. Her face turns red. Before she can apologize, the waiter sighs under his breath, muttering something rude about some people not knowing how to act. The sound cuts through her chest like a blade. She opens her mouth to apologize, but Quentin speaks first, his tone calm, steady, but firm. "Please bring another napkin," he says. "And next time, speak to guests with respect." His voice carries across the room. The waiter freezes, stammers, and nods quickly. Evelina looks up, startled. Everyone's eyes are on them. Quentin doesn't flinch. He gently wipes the table dry and passes her a clean napkin. "You're fine," he says quietly. "You belong right here." For the first time that night, she breathes normally. She looks at him differently now, not as a man showing off, but as someone who made the room treat her the way she deserves. They finished the cheesecake in silence, both smiling faintly, both feeling something neither expected. When she finally stands to leave, Quentin says softly, "Can I walk you to the train?" She hesitates, then nods. As they ride down together in the empty elevator, Evelina feels something new, like she's been seen, not for her uniform or her paycheck, but for herself. Weeks pass, and what started as a single blind date slowly turns into something familiar. Evelina begins to look forward to Quentin's messages. Short, thoughtful, always asking about her day. They meet again for walks after her shifts, coffee at quiet corners, and long talks in the park. He never acts like he's above her. He carries her bag when she's tired, listens when she vents about rude customers, and remembers every small thing she says. But one slow afternoon at the diner, during her short break, Evelina scrolls through her phone to catch up on the news. A headline catches her eye. Quinton Hale, CEO of Hale Group, expands empire with new skyline project. She freezes. The photo shows him in a tailored suit, shaking hands with business leaders. The same calm smile. The same eyes. Her throat tightens. CEO. Billionaire. The man she thought was just another quiet guy from the city runs a company that owns half of Manhattan. All the casual walks, the simple dinners. He knew what he was hiding. When they meet later that evening, she doesn't smile. Her steps are quick, sharp. He stands near the fountain outside her diner, hands in his pockets. "Evelina," he says softly, but she cuts him off. "You're the CEO of Hale Group." Her voice shakes between disbelief and anger. "You let me think we were equals. You sat there, listening to me talk about bills and broken shoes, and you said nothing." Quinton doesn't move. His face remains calm, though his eyes carry a quiet sadness. "You're right," he says. "I should have told you. But for once, I wanted someone to see me as a man, not as a company, not as a headline." Evelina takes a step back. Her mind races. "You think hiding that from me makes you honest? It makes me feel small." He lowers his gaze. "That was never my intention." She looks at him for a long moment, this man who treated her kindly but built his life in a world she could never touch. Everything about him suddenly feels distant, unreachable. "I can't do this," she says finally, voice low but firm. "You live up there," she glances toward the skyline, "and I live down here." Quinton opens his mouth to speak, but she turns before he can. Her footsteps echo down the street, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. She doesn't cry, not yet, but the weight of betrayal presses hard against her chest. That night, Evelina lies awake staring at the ceiling. The same man who made her feel safe also made her feel small. She can't decide which truth hurts more, the fact that he lied, or that a part of her still wants to believe him. A week passes. Evelina tries to forget him, though his name still echoes in her thoughts. She deletes their messages, avoids the spots they visited, and focuses on work. But peace doesn't last long. During her lunch break, her co-worker Rosa rushes in from the kitchen, phone in hand. "Evelina," she whispers, eyes wide, "you need to see this." On the screen glows an article headline, "The Billionaire's Waitress, Inside Quinton Hale's Secret Romance." Beneath it, several photos of her and Quinton at the rooftop restaurant, walking down the street, even one of him waiting outside the diner. Every image has been dissected with cruel captions. From the diner to the penthouse, his charity project? Beauty meets billionaire. Evelina's stomach turns. She scrolls down and sees the comments, mocking her clothes, her hair, her dark skin. Strangers speculating about what she wanted from him. Words that cut deeper than she expected. That afternoon, whispers follow her through the diner. A group of customers giggle while taking pictures discreetly. One even asks, "So, where's your rich boyfriend now?" Her hands tremble as she pours coffee, trying not to break. When she steps into the alley behind the diner, her phone vibrates again. Quinton. He's been calling all day. She finally answers, her voice hollow. "You saw it." "Yes," he replies quickly. "I'm trying to get it taken down. I've already called my lawyers." "It's too late," she interrupts. Do you know what it's like walking into work and hearing people whisper my name? Seeing my face on someone's screen like I'm a joke. He's silent for a moment, his voice low when he finally speaks. I never wanted this to happen. Evelina exhales sharply. You didn't protect me, Quentin. You turned my life into a headline. He starts to protest, but she's already shaking her head, tears forming. I didn't ask for fame. I just wanted honesty. Her voice breaks, but she steadies herself. This isn't love anymore. It's exposure. I can't live like this. She hangs up before he can respond. The sound of the phone dropping into her apron pocket echoes in the narrow alley. That night, she sits at the diner counter long after closing, staring at the city lights through the window. Every part of her aches, anger, shame, heartbreak, but beneath it all is something stronger, resolve. Tomorrow, she'll show up to work. She'll smile, serve coffee, and move on. Because if her story is going to be public, she'll make sure she owns it, not as the billionaire's waitress, but as herself. Weeks turn into months. The story fades from the internet, but the damage lingers in quiet ways. Evelina no longer checks her phone during breaks. She deleted all her photos with Quentin and blocked the number she once waited to see light up her screen. At the diner, she moves like clockwork, pouring coffee, wiping counters, smiling when she needs to. The regulars still come in. Some treat her the same, others stare a little longer than before. Every time someone mentions the article, she brushes it off with a polite smile and changes the subject. Late at night, when the crowd thins and the city lights blur outside, she sometimes catches herself glancing at the door. Part of her still expects him to walk in, dressed in his quiet confidence, asking if he can sit in her section. But he never does. Across the city, Quentin sits alone in his penthouse overlooking the skyline. The same skyline she once called his world. The silence is heavy, broken only by the hum of the city below. The empty chair across from his table reminds him of her laughter, her nervous way of stirring coffee twice before sipping, the way she'd look down whenever he complimented her. He tries to focus on work, but the numbers blur. He attends meetings, answers questions, and signs contracts, but everything feels hollow. The more success he touches, the further it feels from what he really wants. Peace with the only person who saw him as a man instead of a headline. Both try to move forward in their separate worlds. Evelina finds small joy in the simple rhythm of her life. Quentin finds emptiness in his perfection. They think of calling, texting, apologizing, but pride and fear always win. She's scared of being hurt again. He's scared of being unwanted without his wealth. One night, Evelina closes the diner early. She stands by the window, arms crossed, watching the rain fall against the glass. Somewhere across the city, Quentin does the same. They're both staring into the same storm, wishing for the same peace, not knowing they're still thinking of each other. Would you forgive someone who hid their truth just to be seen for who they are? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share more stories that touch hearts across the world. It's early morning on Evelina's 30th birthday. She unlocks the diner door like every other day, expecting the same hum of old machines and the smell of burnt toast. But when she steps inside, she freezes. The diner looks different, brighter, softer, alive. The walls have been repainted, the counters shine like new, and two brand new coffee machines gleam under the warm lights. Fresh flowers sit in small jars on every table. For a long moment, she can't move. Her eyes catch a folded note resting on the counter beside her apron. She picks it up, her hands trembling slightly. The message is written in clean, familiar handwriting, for the woman who serves the world and still smiles. Her throat tightens. She presses the note to her chest, a rush of emotions flooding back. Memories of laughter, heartbreak, and quiet goodbyes. It could only be him. Outside, rain begins to fall in steady drops. She steps through the door and stops beneath the diner's awning. Across the street, under a flickering streetlight, stands Quentin Hale. His expensive coat is soaked through, but he doesn't seem to care. In his hands are 2 steaming paper cups, coffee from her own shop. For a moment, they just stare at each other. Cars pass, rain hits the pavement, and the space between them feels like the distance of 2 worlds finally closing. Evelina swallows hard. She's not angry anymore, just unsure. Quentin takes a hesitant step forward, the cup still in his hands. "Happy birthday," he says quietly. His voice carries through the rain, steady, familiar, almost fragile. She blinks fast, holding back tears. "You remembered." "I never forgot," he replies. The rain falls harder now, drenching his hair, his suit, his shoes. He doesn't move. He doesn't ask her to cross the street. He just stands there, waiting, as if the choice to step closer must come from her. Evelina looks down at the note again, then back at him. The same man who once made her feel small is standing before her now. No armor, no pride, no title. Just a man holding 2 coffees in the rain, hoping she'll take one. Her hand rises slightly, hesitant. She doesn't walk away. Not yet. Quentin stands quietly under the pouring rain, water dripping from his hair, his suit clinging to his shoulders. Still, he doesn't move. He looks at Evelina like the whole world depends on what she'll say next. When he finally speaks, his voice is low but steady. "You were right," he says. "I can't change where I come from, but I can change what I do with it." Evelina crosses her arms, trying to guard the ache in her chest. "You had everything," she says quietly. "Power, wealth, respect. You could have chosen anyone. But you chose to hide from me." He nods, rain sliding down his face like tears he won't let himself shed. "Because for once, I didn't want to be him. The man everyone tries to please. The man people see as a headline. I just wanted to know what it felt like to be seen. Really seen." She looks at him, her eyes filled with hurt and memory. "You could have told me the truth, Quentin." He takes a small step closer, holding the coffee out toward her like an offering. "I know. I was wrong to keep it from you. I thought if I told you who I was, you'd leave before I got to know you. Before I got to understand why someone like you could make this city feel human again." Her lips tremble, but she doesn't look away. The man standing before her isn't the confident CEO she first met. He's vulnerable, stripped of everything but sincerity. "I don't need you to belong in my world," he says softly. "I just want to learn how to belong in yours." Those words hit deeper than any apology could. The rain keeps falling, but neither of them moves. Evelina's eyes fill with tears, though she doesn't bother to hide them. For weeks, she had imagined what she'd say if she saw him again, how she'd turn her back and walk away without looking. But now, her anger feels small next to his quiet honesty. She steps forward slowly, takes one of the coffees from his hand, and whispers, "You look cold." He lets out a shaky laugh, relief mixing with disbelief. "You have no idea." "Come inside," she says, finally breaking into a small smile. "Before you catch something you can't afford." He hesitates, as if afraid it's a dream, but she turns and opens the diner door. Warm light spills out into the rain, casting soft gold on both of them. For the first time in a long while, Quentin follows her, not as a CEO trying to impress, but as a man simply grateful to be let in. Months pass, and New York begins to thaw under the early spring sun. The skyline, once a symbol of distance and privilege, now holds something new, something alive. At the very top of the Meridian Tower, where only executives and millionaires once gathered, a new space opens to the public. It's called Evelina's Place. What was once a private penthouse terrace is now a cafe and reading garden filled with wooden tables, hanging plants, and warm lights that stay on long after sunset. The air smells of roasted coffee beans and fresh pastries. There are no velvet ropes, no dress codes, just open doors and open seats. The first customers are baristas, janitors, teachers, cab drivers, and waitresses from across the city. People who have spent their lives serving others, now being served for once. Evelina walks through the crowd, no longer the quiet waitress who once felt invisible in places like this. Her thrift store dress has been replaced by a simple white blouse and a soft smile that draws people in more than any brand could. She moves with calm confidence, her laughter mixing with the hum of conversation and the sound of live music drifting through the air. Quentin stands beside her, no suit today, just a rolled-up shirt, sleeves wet with coffee foam as he tries and fails to make perfect cappuccino art. People laugh when they see him try again, and Evelina shakes her head, guiding his hand with hers. "You're still terrible at this," she teases. "Maybe," he replies with a grin, "but I'm better when you're here." A small group of guests gathers near the garden section where a sign reads, "For those who serve, dream, and keep the city alive." Nearby, children flip through donated books while their parents rest for a while, sipping free coffee. Every corner of the rooftop feels touched by care, from the recycled tables made by local carpenters to the photos of service workers displayed on the wall, each with a short note of gratitude. Reporters arrive, curious about why a billionaire opened his home to the public. Quentin doesn't take the spotlight. Instead, he steps aside, letting Evelina speak. Her voice is clear and strong as she faces the crowd. "This place isn't about me," she says. "It's about every person who's ever felt small, forgotten, or out of place. It's about proving that kindness can belong anywhere, even here, above the skyline." Applause fills the air, and for the first time, she doesn't shrink from it. She glances at Quentin, who smiles back with quiet pride. Together, they move behind the counter, serving coffee side by side as music rises and the sun sets behind them. For Evelina, it's more than an opening day. It's a beginning. The same woman who once whispered, "I don't belong here," now stands in the center of the city's highest rooftop, surrounded by faces that mirror her own journey from doubt to hope. And this time, she knows she belongs. Evening settles over the city, casting gold and rose tones across the glass towers. The rooftop lights of Evelina's Place glow like soft stars above the skyline. The crowd begins to thin, but the laughter lingers. People hug, exchange numbers, promise to return tomorrow. It doesn't feel like a grand opening. It feels like home. Evelina stands at the edge of the terrace, watching the last rays of sunlight fade into the horizon. She can see the city stretching endlessly below, the streets where she once walked in worn shoes, the diner that still carries her scent of coffee and vanilla. She feels the weight of everything she survived, and for the first time, it doesn't make her small. It makes her strong. Behind her, Quentin walks up quietly, 2 empty cups in hand. He places them on the table and leans beside her, his expression soft, almost uncertain. "They love it," he says quietly. "They needed it," she answers, eyes still on the view. "We all did." The wind carries a faint chill, but it feels gentle now. Evelina turns to him, her voice calm, filled with something new, peace. For so long, I thought I didn't belong anywhere. Not in your world. Not in mine. But maybe belonging isn't a place. Maybe it's a person who stays. Quentin looks at her, saying nothing, just taking her hand. There are no cameras tonight, no flashing headlines, no whispers from strangers. Just them, two people standing at the same height for the first time, neither above nor below, but side by side. Evelina's fingers tighten around his. She smiles, a quiet, radiant smile that reaches her eyes. I belong here, she whispers. He returns the smile, brushing his thumb across her knuckles. You always did, he says softly. They stand there as the lights of the city flicker on one by one. Laughter echoes faintly from the cafe behind them, the laughter of people who finally feel seen. The camera pans upward, capturing the glow of Evelina's place against the vast night sky. Their hands stay joined as the sound of their soft laughter fades into the hum of the city below. Love found them not in luxury, but in understanding. Not in perfection, but in patience. And for Evelina Brooks, the woman who once whispered, I don't belong here, the night ends with a truth she no longer doubts. She finally does.